Hello everyone, I'm the EFC and this is Blue Lines TV, and today I'm bringing you guys the Predict That 11 video for our upcoming game against Stoke City this Saturday. But before I get into the video, please you guys, press the bell notification button. It's going to be a very busy period during January. There's going to be a ton of news to talk about, transfer news, tactical news and everything. So make sure you press the bell notification button so you're in tune with everything Blue Lines TV during that period. But anyway, continuing with the video, I see us using a 3-4-3 against Stoke City. I don't think it makes sense to use a 3-5-2 because it does require us to use a lot of crosses in the box, and that's one thing that Stoke City are very good at, defending from aerial balls and defending from crosses. I think a 3-4-3 will be useful because that does mean players will be making runs in behind and playing in those half spaces, and that's areas that Stoke City aren't very effective at defending from. And the plus side is that most of their top first choice defenders aren't actually going to be playing against us. Anyway, getting into the first prediction for the game, and of course Courtois will be playing in goal, and there really isn't much to say about him, so I'm going to be moving on to our back three. Moving on to the right hand side of the back three, and I see Azpilicueta playing in this game, and you know what, it was quite frustrating for me that Azpi actually didn't continue his consecutive game records. When you play as a defender, especially in a back three where defensive responsibility is spread out between three people, I don't really feel that you get as tired as much. Azpi has definitely picked up form since his first 2 months of the season, and he's been quite impressive. He's got that relationship with Alvaro Morata, and it's been an amazing combination. 6 goals coming from assists by Azpi to Alvaro Morata, all from crosses from deep areas. And it's a nice plan B when we're trying to create chances against opposition teams. Moving on to the middle of the back three, and I'm going to assume that Christensen has recovered from his illness and I see him regaining his place in the team. And with Christensen, he's definitely had a lot of lucky chances and opportunities that have fallen in his place for him to actually become a first team player. I'm very happy it's happened, but in a way it is quite disappointing to think that Christensen might not have got this opportunity without luck. Cahill and Luiz getting red cards in consecutive games really helped Christensen because he actually got the game time to really show to Conte, you know what, you can trust me and you can use me. Christensen was also lucky that other defenders didn't come into the club. During previous years, we were trying to sign John Stones, Romagnoli, and last summer we were looking into bringing Van Dijk because Conte is a massive fan. And imagine if Van Dijk did come in during the summer, Christensen would have no place in the team and it'd be such a massive shame. And it just goes to show that if you do give these youngsters game time and opportunity, if you have faith in them and trust them, then they can shine. And when you compare the fee that Van Dijk went to for Liverpool for £75 million to Christensen, can you really say that it's really worth it in a way? I know that money and inflation in football is incredibly crazy with how it's working today, but Christensen's been performing better than Van Dijk this season. And I feel with Chelsea that if we did use more of our young players, we'd be saving a lot more money when it comes to bringing in players that we need for certain positions. So hopefully Christensen is the catalyst for more Chelsea youth to get game opportunities and chances. Moving on to the left hand side of the back three, and I see Rüdiger keeping his place in the team because I think that Conte might rest Cahill for the game against Arsenal. And with Rüdiger, as I keep saying, he's been decent. I wish he'd stop making these unnecessary silly fouls, and it's such a typical Rüdiger foul where he gets easily riled up and then gives away an unnecessary foul, and he's normally the sole reason why teams do get free kick opportunities against us. Still, he has been decent this season. He definitely has room for improvement. He is only 25 years old, so he has the potential to be a pretty good player. And to be honest, if he could eradicate some of these small things out from his game, and if he could concentrate a bit more, and also if he could actually be a bit better at defending aerial balls, because sometimes he can get underneath crosses a bit too much. I think that really they're only mental frailties, and I think that once he gets more game time and improves, he can be a very impressive defender in the future. Moving on to the wing back, starting on the right hand side with Victor Moses, and he's been such an instrumental figure to the team and how we attack as well. He really helps us play out from the back. We aren't struggling to play out from the back as much because we have more players who are dropping deeper, who are better at keeping the ball under pressure and receiving the ball under pressure, and he really helps us play out. I think with his crossing as well in recent games, it hasn't been as bad as people are making out. He put in a lot of great crosses against Brighton in previous games as well. It's unfortunate that people haven't got on the end of them, but I think he's really providing an amazing outlet on the right hand side, and in my opinion, I think that Moses is one of the top 10 right backs in the world. Moving on to the left hand side, and that is Marcos Alonso. Marcos Alonso did score a great goal against Brighton with his header, and he had a great free kick opportunity as well, something that's becoming a bit of a trademark for Alonso. But I made this point in my match review as well. He provides the team something actually pretty different, and you know, in the right moments in games, in the right context of games, that can actually be pretty useful. But he seems to be much more impressive when he's inside the 18-yard box of the opposition team than he is outside the box. You know, when it comes to his distribution of the ball in the final third, it's not as great. I thought his crossing's been pretty poor for a few months now. He hasn't really added anything that much. And I don't know, it's kind of weird that he's so effective inside the box, but not as effective outside the box. But this is why I made this comparison, that to me, we need to get this Wayne Bridge, Ashley Cole dynamic back to the club. For me, Alonso is a Wayne Bridge type of player. You know, he's got one or two great attributes that really help the team in certain moments, but as a world-class complete player, he definitely isn't that. I think that we can bring in Alex Sandro so he can regain that Ashley Cole spot in the team. I think Alonso and Sandro will be a pretty amazing combination to have. Moving on to the midfield too, starting with N'Golo Kante. He's always going to be playing in these games. The guy has an engine for days. He doesn't need any rest at all. I thought in his last game against Brighton, he was a tiny bit sloppy because of the ridiculously high standards that he does have, even though he was effective during the game. But you know, at certain times giving the ball away a bit too easily, or giving away unnecessary free kicks, like that free kick opportunity that Brighton had later in the second half. But I've always felt with players like Kante, they really help improve the team and really help complement what the team does, because they really are that support that all top teams need to really elevate and have that platform to really attack teams. Moving on to his midfield partner, and I do see Bakayoko regaining his place. It seems like Conte is trying to restart that whole Kante relationship from last season with Bakayoko, and I think that Conte definitely wants Bakayoko to really improve quickly, and I think with game time, that's what Bakayoko will do. I think Conte wants to have that dynamic again in the midfield. He wants that platform of strength and energy as well to have. And I don't know, with Bakayoko, he's definitely going to need a lot of time to improve this in this capacity. I know in the last few months his form has been better, but in my opinion, I don't think he's really excelled in any games. I think he's been putting in the bare minimum I'd expect from a £40 million player. He hasn't done anything amazing, but you know, he hasn't done anything bad which he was doing in previous games. So hopefully he's going to start regaining that confidence to do something. I thought against Brighton he wasn't really doing as much of an offensive capability. And with Bakayoko, there's one thing that I don't really enjoy as much, and he doesn't really get on the board as much. He doesn't really get in those positions to become a passing outlet, to really have that confidence and the capacity to actually play people in and do things. Moving on to the front three, starting on the left hand side, that is Eden Hazard. I'm hoping that with Hazard, he is going to actually collect the ball in wider areas. I think it's amazing that he's playing centrally, it does help, but I do think in certain contexts of games, you know, certain moments, sometimes it's effective for Hazard to be receiving the ball out wide where he isn't getting double or triple marked. He does have passing options. He's able to collect the ball in space, face the goal, run at the goal, and hopefully take a shot on goal as well. And I think that he has a lot of attacking burden on his hands, and I think it's a bit too much at times. It's a bit too unnecessary. In a way, Hazard is another cheat code to the Chelsea team. I really do feel that if Chelsea never had him or Kante, I don't necessarily feel that we would be a title contender as much, in my opinion. But I think with Hazard, we definitely need to start supporting him a bit more in terms of offensive support. He's got way too much responsibility on his hands. Moving on to the striker, Morata is going to regain his place, and it's nice that he scored in 2 consecutive games, and we've started to see him and Hazard starting to show some of that partnership and relationship that they do have, and I do think it's our most promising thing that we have at the club. In a way, I would say that Morata is also another player that does have a lot of responsibility on his hands. In other games, because teams are really defending deep in the middle with that Catenaccio style defending, Morata is struggling to find space to drop deep and to play in. But when we do have players playing out wide, Morata does have the space and license to really have the freedom to do things. And I'm thinking that it's all up to the Conte having the right approach to help the likes of your Hazards and Moratas. Ending on the right hand side, I do see Pedro regaining his place in the team. I feel that against Stoke City, Pedro is going to make a lot more sense because he does like to make runs behind and he does like to play in those half spaces, and that's areas where Stoke City really struggle to play in. So I do feel that Conte will decide to use Pedro in this game, and hopefully that is going to help give more space to Hazard and Morata. Anyway, you guys, that's the lineup I see Conte using for the game against Stoke City. Now here's the lineup I would use. In midfield, I've gone for Kante and Fabregas, and it was actually a great, fantastic stat I saw on Twitter a few days ago in regards to Fabregas. When he was playing in that midfield too, when there wasn't any Kante when he had his injury, Fabregas was actually making and winning 4 tackles a game. And I've always felt that this criticism that Fabregas doesn't have any defensive responsibility, doesn't have the legs to run, was always complete nonsense, and it was always people just looking at his physicality instead of what he's actually doing on the pitch. Now with Fabregas, he was always in the right positions and he was always making tackles. He isn't that type of midfield player, and it was really quite telling to see how good he was defensively. And I think that him and Kante should be that first team combination, and Fabregas really does add a lot to these types of games where we have missed that vertical style of passing that we don't really possess, and it's quite telling that usually during first half of games is where we don't really create anything or do anything. We tend to win games in the second half, and I feel with Fabregas, he gives us that platform to start winning games in the first half, and hopefully then we can have easy wins and seal out the game. Anyway, you guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, comment, subscribe, and also press the bell notification button and stay tuned to all things Blue Lions TV. Anyway, you guys, I'm the NEFC. This is Blue Lions TV. Signing out.